it was very much an abuse of power. He caught me at my lowest point. I had just had my house burglarized.
Several women come forward tonight who say they were victims of sexual misconduct at the hands of a San Diego sheriff's deputy. California is fighting back after the FCC reverses rules on net neutrality. And it's another first for SpaceX as the California company takes the idea of reduce, reuse, and recycle to new heights. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. The number of women who have accused San Diego County Sheriff's Deputy Richard Fisher of sexual misconduct is now 11. Fisher is on administrative leave while sheriff's officials investigate the allegations. KPBS investigative reporter Amitha Sharma sat down with 4 of his accusers who spoke on the condition of anonymity.
He put me in the car, and as he's putting the seatbelt on, he fondled me and said, "I hope your husband doesn't mind." And at that moment, I was just thinking, well, what's going to happen? Am I going to, get raped? I mean, that's not a normal interaction with a cop.
He and his partner responded to a burglary that I had at my house back in 2016. And after they did the report, later on that evening, it was probably around 11:30 to midnight, there was a knock on the door, and I looked through the peephole and saw it was him, so I felt safe to open the door. He asked me how I was doing, and I said, not very good, and he said, you look like you need a hug, and he just grabbed and hugged me. And I froze at that point. I really, part of me thought, is he here to help me, or should I be scared? I was very confused at that point.
My circumstances were that I had placed a call for domestic violence threat against me. And so when he showed up at the door, I had invited him in to talk about what had happened previously in that night. And he did ask for a hug at that point. I mean, after I went through a few things, or he said, you must need a hug or something. So we hugged. And I just thought it was like a sympathy type hug. So then he hugged me again. I can't remember how that hug came about. It was definitely a stronger hug. Mm-hmm. My son had come in at that point and asked if everything was okay, and he went up to his room. Then as we were walking towards the door, he held me again, like just really close and tight. He held my butt, and then he took my right hand and put my hand on his crotch and rubbed it a couple of times, and I was like, what are you doing? I mean, I am a respectful, classy lady. I don't know what you're thinking. What's going on? This doesn't happen. This is not real. Anyway, so then he did leave, and he just said, I'll keep an eye out for you or something like that. He did ask that I do not tell anyone about what had happened.
He proceeded to search my backpack, and while I was sat on the curb, he found a prescription bottle of mine. He looks at him. He goes, "Well, this is a felony right here, And I'm like, "Well, I have a prescription for that, but I put it in my storage." And he's, "Oh, well, because I can take you to jail for this." I'm like, "You got to be kidding!" And so he goes, "Well, I'll tell you what. I'll let you. I don't do this for everyone, but I'll follow you into your storage, and if you can show me that, you'll be okay." And I'm like, "Great." So he, followed me into my storage and came all the way down the hall to my actual storage, where I was able to find that prescription. And then he's all like, "Well, I guess you're all right, but can I have a hug now?" And so he hugged me, and he, I remember holding me really tight because he had his vest on and it was real stiff. And that time, he put his hands on my, buttocks and kind of groped it there. And then as he was leaving, he says, "Okay, you owe me one now, I said, okay, and I knew that wasn't normal, but I felt really relieved, just to not have gotten in trouble or anything.
Do you see the allegations, your allegations of misconduct against Deputy Fisher, a man who carries a badge, a gun, and whose job it is to protect and serve, the ultimate abuse of power?
I think it is, because you have your trust that they are going to be there for you. When he, was rubbing all over my breast and whatever, I was like shocked. I didn't know what to do. I thought, well, did I do something wrong? Did I say something to make him do this? Why would he do this to me?
Yes, it was very much an abuse of power. He caught me at my lowest point. I had just had my house burglarized. And my husband was out of the country. He knew that. So I was alone. And, like I said before, if he would have come to my house without a uniform, I never would have let him in. But it was because he had his uniform on and he was representing, someone that's supposed to protect you. I felt safe.
Same. I mean, he showed up at the door. I felt comfortable having him come in and talk about what had happened. I was already on edge because my boyfriend had threatened to drive his car through my garage, so I was already, and this is like at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I'm very vulnerable. I was just so scared of that, first of all, and so he absolutely took advantage of that. I mean, yeah, would I want a hug? Yeah, I want a hug. I'm at a low point here in my life and feeling very sad. And he just scared me so bad that I just keep my doors locked all the time now. I would never let an officer in my house again.
Do you think the department is taking your allegations seriously?
No, I don't think they're taking it seriously. I'm surprised that he still has a job.
I feel the same way. I mean, why does it take so many for them to take any action against him and arrest him? I mean, they're done with my investigation. I'm sure they're done with several others as well. He should be arrested at this point. Why is he still working there? It's wrong.
In a statement, the Sheriff's Department reiterated it's conducting both administrative and criminal investigations of the accusations against Fisher. It added the law bars officials from releasing details of the inquiry, but that the allegations are viewed seriously and, quote, appropriate actions will be taken after the probe is over. In another statement, a San Diego County District Attorney spokesman said the office will thoroughly and objectively review the case for potential criminal charges once the investigation is complete. San Diego County's Transportation Planning Agency is getting a new board chairman. Del Mar Mayor Terry Sinat was unanimously elected to SANDAG today. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen has more.
The SANDAG board chairman runs meetings and can exert some influence on the agency's transportation policies. Mayor Sinat has been serving as board vice chairman. I spoke with him after his election and asked him whether he believes climate change is caused by humans.
I don't get into that situation. It's a debatable issue that the board talks about. We have representatives from all 18 cities in the county of San Diego, and they bring their political thoughts in when they make decisions. My job is to facilitate and make sure we make progress and stick to the mission of our agency.
Now, part of SANDAG's mission under state law is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, most of which come from cars and trucks. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
California is not giving up on net neutrality without a fight. One San Francisco lawmaker wants to protect open internet with a new law. The FCC voted to repeal the rules along party lines yesterday. Net neutrality barred internet service providers from favoring some sites over others.
The FCC has actually lost this issue in court in the past, and there will almost certainly be litigation here, but we feel like we have a good legal ground to pass net neutrality legislation in California.
California's attempt to pass its own law could be difficult. The latest FCC order specifically bans states from adopting their own open internet requirements. California's first recreational marijuana business license belongs to a San Diego company. Torrey Holistics in Sorrento Valley was granted the first of 4 temporary licenses. State regulators plan to issue more in time for sales to begin on January 1st. Nearly 2,000 companies, including retail stores, distributors, and growers, have applied for the licenses online. New administrators brought in to help stabilize the troubled San Ysidro School District have uncovered a past budget error or errors that will cost the district millions of dollars to correct. iNews Source reporter Leonardo Castaneda has the story.
For 2 years, the San Ysidro School District overstated its student enrollment in state filings. Now it owes the state an estimated $5.1 million. The error was first made in the fiscal 2016 budget. An audit that year uncovered the mistake, but district officials opted to challenge it with the state. And the incorrect enrollment figures were again used in fiscal 2017. Now, Interim Superintendent Mary Willis says the district will drop the challenge.
It's really obvious. If the money came from the state and you didn't have the students or the base to get it, then you give it back to the state. There's no complication. You just pay it back.
The district plans to repay the state using money it had set aside in case it lost its challenge with the state. It also will use funds reserved for unspecified liabilities such as lawsuits and other claims. But that's not the end of the district's budget troubles. Administrators also uncovered an estimated $2.1 million in expenses that are not funded in the current budget, including salaries for teachers and non-teaching staff and a one-time bonus for teachers. The district will pay for those errors using unspent money in the current budget and by dipping into its reserves. Willis says San Ysidro's financial issues are serious. Going forward, she says the school board will need to, quote, tighten the belt so the district can meet its financial obligations. For KPBS, I'm iNews reporter Leonardo Castaneda.
iNews Source is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. Today is the last day to apply for a rebate from the city of San Diego for removing your grass to conserve water. KPBS reporter Claire Tragasser says the turf program is back, but homeowners should know the money is taxable.
So this is one of the areas that we, when we first moved in, this was all grass.
Mike Daly lives in Talmadge, and when he and his girlfriend moved in, they went about redoing their yard.
And the entire backyard was all grass, like all the rockscape here and the stones.
They took out most of their grass, but saved a spot for their dog, Eli. They got some extra funds to help with the project, a rebate from the city to take out grass and replace it with drought-resistant landscaping. The city pays by square foot of grass removed.
That helped offset the cost of the entire project, which was great, because obviously all the labor that was involved in purchasing the rocks and the pavers.
Unfortunately, there was a catch. It turned out the rebate was taxable income,
which was kind of a pain in the butt because we had already, pretty much accounted for that money in our budget for the project.
The city is offering turf rebates again this year.
We have a lot of takers. It's a popular program.
Brian Hojanacki with the city's water conservation program says he hopes people who get rebates won't have to pay taxes on them in the future.
But there is a push to make water conservation tax credits free.
Despite the extra taxes, he says the rebates are still popular. The city offered rebates for 2 weeks in October and gave out 120. Now they're collecting applications for another 2 weeks and will do a lottery to pick who gets funds. Hojanacki says even with the rains last year, it's still a good idea to take out your grass.
The drought is over, but we are still in an area that is very arid. A lot of the customers, their lawns have been suffering from the drought, and they are in need of replacement.
Claire Tragasser, KPBS News.
San Diego fails to come up with a plan for Airbnb rentals. Lessons learned from battling the destructive lilac fire in North County, and Oceanside's mayor announces his resignation. Join us for the KPBS Roundtable tonight at 8:30.
San Diego Zoo successfully deployed and used a drone designed to help researchers track polar bears and examine the icy habitat they rely on for hunting. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
The Arctic drone was born out of a collaboration between San Diego Zoo Global and Northrop Grumman, a San Diego-based defense contractor. The team built a copter that carries sophisticated scientific instruments in a package that can withstand extreme cold. That drone got its first field test in late November in the Arctic environment of Canada's Hudson Bay. Zoo researcher Nicholas Pilfold says most existing ice research in the field happens in the spring when the ice is thickest.
We can't do that kind of work in the fall because the ice is just forming, it's very thin. So we don't know a lot about the interactions between the bears when they come off land and that first sea ice, what they're looking for, how effective that sea ice is for them for feeding.
The drone changes the equation, giving researchers a tool that allows for up-close field work.
With this unit, we can go and we can measure that sea ice for the first time at fine scale and track polar bears and try to understand what is happening during that migration from land to sea ice.
Even in November, the Canadian Bay's environment is harsh. Researchers had to fashion a special wrap so the controls could be operated in the cold climate.
So it was an adjustment for our team as well. You know, we had to take in account what it was like for all of us to be out there as the drone was operating, for us to be out there and operate it, fly it, and make sure everything was functioning properly.
The vehicle flew 11 sea ice missions, collecting a variety of habitat data that will be processed now that the team is back home. Engineers and researchers hope they can adapt this technology so it'll work in other climates like over the rainforest. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
3, 2, 1. And the liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket and Dragon spacecraft.
A successful launch today at Cape Canaveral. Southern California-based SpaceX is working with NASA on this latest resupply mission. 5,000 pounds of supplies and food will arrive Sunday. SpaceX has developed the capacity to reuse rockets. This is the first time a recycled rocket and capsule have been used together in a launch. A temporary break from dry weather and red flag warnings today, but gusty winds will make a comeback this weekend. Regina Miller has tonight's forecast.
Well, looking ahead in the forecast here, the red flag warning expires, so we're no longer dealing with that. And we have a weaker onshore flow for Saturday, so that will help conditions. But then the offshore gusty winds reestablish themselves for Saturday night through Sunday evening. Now, taking a look at the satellite and radar, not anything going on here across San Diego County. But when we widen out the view, there is a front approaching into Northern California. Tonight, partly cloudy skies in the metro areas, 53 degrees. And our overnight low in Borrego Springs is at 45 degrees and partly cloudy, 39 in Mount Laguna, and 43 in Oceanside. For Saturday, we are going to have this area of low pressure offshore, a little cooler. We have that weak onshore flow. Winds will start to pick up out ahead of the front. And then for tomorrow in San Diego County, we're at 71 degrees in Borrego Springs. Oceanside's at 63. Mount Laguna is at 50 degrees. But then we have the high fire risk returning for late Saturday and Sunday as we get those gusty winds at night. And those winds will gust 40 to 60 miles per hour. Now, along the coastal locations, 68 degrees for Sunday. And we are going to have sunshine, pleasant, plenty of sunshine for Monday and Tuesday at 68 degrees as well. Inland areas, 70 degrees with brilliant sunshine on Sunday. Monday, sunny and nice, 73, and we'll go up to 75 by Tuesday. In the mountain areas on Saturday, we're at 50 degrees, cooler on Saturday. And then for Sunday, sunny and windy, those very gusty winds returning, 45 degrees, breezy on Monday at 50 degrees. And in the desert areas, plenty of sunshine on Sunday, 68, and we have plenty of sunshine, 68 on Monday as well. Tuesday, sunny and pleasant, and 71. Back to you, Ebony.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, the tax overhaul moves closer to reality. We explore concerns over its effect on the federal debt. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
If you're still looking for the gifts for kids and teens in your life, KPBS education reporter Megan Burks sat down with the county school's librarian to get his top picks for children's books this year.
This is a book that I really like.
Librarian Jonathan Hunt says 2017 brought several books that carve out space for youth to reflect on the year's tumultuous news cycle.
This is a true crime story that happened in Oakland 4 years ago. there was a transgender person riding a bus home from school. She was wearing kind of a gauzy skirt, and another student lit the skirt on fire. He never intended for her to be a fireball. This book really goes behind the headlines and shows you a great amount of empathy for both sides of it. The African-American male that's probably in the prison pipeline, you know, because of this incident, as well as the transgender person and their struggles.
Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds follows a young boy with a gun who set out to exact revenge.
This is the story of a 60-second elevator ride. As the elevator descends, you come to this shocking realization that he's had so many people in his life that have died as a result of gun violence that you're just rooting for him not to go through with it.
For young children, Hunt recommends After the Fall by Dan Santat. It uses the story of Humpty Dumpty to explore themes of resiliency.
We've all had trauma in our lives, and this is a story about how we can overcome it and succeed.
For Hunt's full list, go to kpbs.org. Megan Burks, KPBS News.
Star Wars The Last Jedi had the second biggest Thursday box office ever. But if you don't want to deal with crowded theaters, KPBS cinema junkie Beth Accomando has a couple alternative suggestions.
Darkest Hour will be the second film this year to look to World War II and Winston Churchill. The third film, if you also count Churchill's peripheral presence in Dunkirk. Darkest Hour has Gary Oldman, heavier and under lots of makeup, as Churchill. The film begins just before he assumes the role of Prime Minister in May of 1940 and immediately has to face tough decisions about the war.
When will the lesson be learned? How many more dictators must be wooed, appeased, good God, given him mixed privileges, before we learn? You cannot reason with a tiger when your head is in its mouth.
Oldman delivers an attention-grabbing, scenery-chewing performance that's fun to watch. But the film feels like Oscar bait, like something designed to get Oldman a long overdue Oscar. The film does remind us of the difficult decisions Churchill had to make and the power of his spoken word. It also gives us a more intimate view of history. But in the end, it's a rather formulaic biopic. Formula, in the best sense of the word, is at the core of Brawl in Cell Block 99, a gritty prison picture that effectively ramps up genre tropes to the point that they explode. This is a prison drama taken to a logical and intensely focused extreme. In a sense, it's about stripping everything away from the main character, played by Vince Vaughn, until it's nothing more than him in a dark pit of a cell on a personal mission. Brawl in Cell Block 99 is directed by S. Craig Zahler, who gave us the brilliant Bone Tomahawk. This film is even more brutal and wince-inducing, but it's also a tightly crafted and unflinching work of genre cinema. It may not have any holiday cheer to offer, but it's film craftsmanship at its finest. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Some iconic names in theater and music will be in town this weekend, along with an unconventional art show. Our arts calendar editor Nina Guerin has details.
Hello and happy Friday. We begin with Cabaret, an award-winning musical that's being staged at Hillcrest's Ion Theater.
Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome. Fremda, étranger, stranger.
This musical is set in a nightclub in Berlin just before the Nazis came to power. And because Ion is such a small, intimate theater, you really do feel like you're a patron at the Kit Kat Club. The show is seedy and exciting at the same time, with clever nods to our own modern politics. It also features two people playing the role of the iconic MC. It has very clever and heartbreaking results. If you're not a fan of art galleries, this show will be right up your alley. Hotels Motels transforms hotel rooms into art spaces. Artists from all over Southern California will transform rooms at the Lafayette Hotel. Some will be performance rooms where you can hear poetry. Others will have art exhibits where you can find work inside desk drawers or projected on curtains. Hotels Motels aims to bring a hub of excitement to San Diego's art scene and introduce more people to burgeoning local artists. Finally, San Diego gets a visit from hip-hop superstar Jay-Z.
For the final time, you don't believe these fools. I never seen a worker rock so many jewels. Never. I never seen a runner with so many cars.
Jay-Z's latest album, 444, is up for 8 Grammy Awards, leading the competition for most nominations. It's an album that brings a more mature sound for the iconic musician. He raps about everything from race, wealth, and even his infidelity to his wife Beyoncé. But because Jay-Z is always an entertainer first, you can also expect to hear beloved hits like Dirt Off Your Shoulder and Empire State of Mind. For KPBS Arts, I'm Nina Guerin.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.